Welcome to Grace Pass Rotary Club. We're at that and they come up and lead us in a pledge of allegiance. So do us. States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test of the things say who. Second is this American law concern. Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And I do believe that Greg is here to inspire us.
I'll defer to Mark tonight. I have a quote from Mark Twain's autobiography, and then I have the colloquialism that comes from it. The actual direct quote was, "How easy it is to make people believe a lie, and how hard it is to undo that again." And over the years, that quote has become sort of simplified to, it's easier to fool someone than it is to convince them that they've been fooled.
Yeah. Our reader today is Amanda Neely, and Amanda, were you able to sell all the cards?
Was not.
Okay, so that means dig into your pockets, look for buckaroos, so that she can walk around and sell those extra tickets. Thank you. And we do have a couple of Rotarians visiting today. We have Tim Quinlan, and he'll come up and say something in just a little bit. He's our assistant governor. And we also have Roger Singer, and you are you a Rotarian as well?
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Any other visiting Rotarians? How about guests? Did anybody bring a guest today? All right, we'll hold off and let our Judy introduce our guest speaker.
We have a guest.
Oh, we do have a guest. You're right. I do. I looked back there and I saw somebody. So who do we have online?
Jerry.
Jerry. All right, Jerry. Well, welcome to our club. I hope you can hear us. I guess I'm looking the wrong way. I have to look at the camera over here because I always seem to back my head. Hi, Jerry. A lot better. Okay, welcome to our club. So we do have some announcements today. So if you have some announcements that you would like to give, if you could come up and stand right here, I'll have you. And I've got a few announcements when they're done. So Joe, do you want to come up and serve us up?
Hey, tomorrow is our big shred day at the North Branch of Banner Bank on 7th Street. From 10 until 2, bring bags and boxes of your confidential shred. iSecure will be there with one of their big trucks to go ahead and shred it at that time. We'll also have some fresh popcorn, some lemonade, some water, that type of stuff to be able to have out and available for you all. And I know that a lot of you are already planning on coming, so I'm looking forward to seeing you there tomorrow. Just a quick onset to that too. Next week, Banner Bank will be celebrating our 135th anniversary. So if you have an opportunity to swing into any of the branches, we'll have cookies and treats and little cupcakes and all that stuff. So I'd love to see you.
Thank you. Next are visiting Rotarians.
Thank you. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I serve on the board of directors for the food bank with Jody proudly. And we have, I don't know if I believe Patrice has been in front of the club here and talked about the our kids in the health program, the green bag program. She was bragging to me that you've already brought in over 500 pounds. So I said, congratulations to that. I issued a challenge, and I went to our club yesterday. And we're going to run this through the end of September because September is Hunger Action Month. So we're going to pull through on that. We're going to have a little contest. Patrice will keep track of what comes out of this club. I'll keep track of what comes out of Wednesday. And then I'll try to get to the Friday folks too. And we'll see who can bring in the most. Because I don't know if you're aware, but this year we pivoted on the program. It's called Our Kids Need Your Help. And we have 15 food pantries now at Three Rivers schools. It's actually gonna be featured on Kobe 5 tomorrow, I believe. So I have some lists here of what we're looking for, but we're looking to fill school pantries with this. This folds right into four. So we really, really would like your participation. And Patrice and I were trying to figure out an equitable way to see who wins and loses. We do at the opening of our meeting, we do what's called a song and a pledge. So someone gets up, we all sing a song together, and then we do the pledge. So if you win, we will come here and sing, do your pledge.
That's in the
If,
second.
instead of for us, if you don't win, we'll invite you to our Wednesday meeting and you can perform a small Broadway show. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And anyway, so thank you all very, very much. I appreciate it. I'm so proud when I walked into our food bank, giant Rotary sign out there. So thank you for that. And Doug's got a great story that he can tell one day about that sign out there. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, good. And I think the challenge is we don't want to get up and sing and dance in front of the Wednesday club. So that's incentive for me. Tim, our assistant governor, is here for a word.
And you really, I'm not sure you want to win, because if I get chosen to sing in front of you, you're not gonna like it. As Valerie said, I am the new assistant governor for this area, and that entails working with the four clubs, all four clubs in our county. I look at it, and I heard this term in Calgary, one of the breakout sessions I like to, one of the districts called themselves this position, a club advocate. I think that's really describes more what this job means is. My position will be to advocate for you guys back to the district to try to help you guys be the best that you want to be. So I'll be working with Valerie and the other three presidents and all of you to try and do as good as we can for our communities. That's one of my announcements. The other one, I'll put on another hat, but I was the district conference chair for the district conference that we had in May. And I just wanted to thank everybody in this room who helped us make that conference the success that it was. I went to the handover of the district governor in Newport. I went to Calgary, and both places I had people come up to me and say how much they enjoyed their time here in Princeton. So well done to all of you for what you did to make it such a success. It was one of the biggest district conferences we've had in over 10 years. So well done, everyone. And on that note, I have a little present for your past president, Judy, to thank her for leading you guys and also being a key part of our district conference committee the whole time. So thank you, Judy.
Thank you. I came up here to get an announcement. Instead, I got a present. I hope it's fine. Anyway, just quickly, we're working with the city of Grants Pass on Art Along the Road and passing around the sign-up sheet. I know it's early days, but they're looking for some volunteers. It's an easy assignment, and if you just keep that moving, I know if you can't sign up today, go back and look at your calendar because we'll put it up, every week or for a few more weeks anyway. Thank you. Right, thank you. And yes, I was going to announce that. Art Along the Road, that's awesome. I also want to thank Tim Quinlan, who truly was an advocate for me when I went up to Pell's and knew absolutely nobody. He kind of took me under his wing and took me to the district conference. So he's been a mentor for me, and I truly appreciate what you have done in that role. So I'm great, and I invite you back anytime. We had a president's meeting, as a matter of fact, last Monday. We were kind of meeting as presidents in the very beginning. And one of the things we talked about, and I've heard from many of you, is the importance of big projects in Grants Pass and how all of the Rotaries would like to somehow, through these next few years, come together and do something special for our community. Some ideas that were thrown around, and I know many of you are interested in the future of the library. That's a big one. There was, of course, there's caveman pools going away. So there's some ideas bounced around about So we decided to come up with a committee, a district-wide committee of 2 people from each club. And they get together and they kind of brainstorm and they talk about what they feel is the biggest issue or the biggest project that we could work on together as a team, and maybe come up with some ideas of some ways to fundraise so that we can all come behind you and support that. I already talked with Greg. I know Greg is really enthusiastic and I know his heart is with the library, as is mine. But we do need one other person to come on board with that. So if you could just let me know if you're interested in looking at that long range planning, district-wide to get something moving here in Grants Pass, let me know. That's important. I was so excited because we have 500 pounds already, so yay, that's awesome. And one other thing I wanted to mention is this weekend, well, 2 things. Number one, if you haven't already signed up, Nelson Mailer is hosting an event on Saturday night at a Galeese. And so he's providing the food. It will be up at one of the houses I think he has up above in Galeese. And then afterwards, of course, you can go down and listen to the music. So that is something that he's hosting. He had kind of wanted a number. I don't know if he still wants more numbers or.
I don't think it's as important now, because I think the food is already ordered.
Okay.
But it's a celebration of what we just. It really is, it started off as being, we go up there once a year. Tina Gottschalk from our club brings us all up there. Well, this year Nelson heard about it and we had budgeted in our district conference budget for a celebration after the conference. And Nelson saw this as a great way to get all 4 clubs to come and just have an evening of fellowship up at the Lease Resort. Nelson doesn't have a house there, but Tina and Debbie Thomason, who used to own that resort, they've rented a house or cottages up above. There's apparently up above the resort, and that's where the party's going to be. It's going to start about 4:30. The food will be there, and then it'll go on into the evening. So the food is provided. All you need to bring is your old drinks and some chairs to sit. And after the dinner, you go down to the resort and watch. There's music, live music that'll be down there. But or you can stay up there. Excuse me, I was caught eating. You stay up there and just enjoy being with fellow Rotarians. So there'll be Rotarians from all 4 clubs there, and we hope that as many can join as possible. And thanks again for what you guys did for the conference.
One last announcement, and this is also on Saturday, and I'm just gonna pump for Lemonade Day. So speaking of young entrepreneurs, our young entrepreneur students have been out there building business plans and making all sorts of decisions about their lemonade stand and how they're going to entice customers. And so that is this Saturday between 12 and 3. So if you are around town, go support them, go buy honk, whatever. So that is happening this Saturday. So there we go. And with that, I do have one. This is what I'm going to do. And I realize time-wise, it's really, I'm going to just squeeze in the fact that this is August is committee building. So this week, I just talked about who's on such committees to build our meetings, because we have a tech crew, obviously, that's an important role. We have the admin, which is, we just had a meeting to put together meetings, so to get presentations and that sort of thing. And I think that I went to the one last week, it was wonderful. So those are the people, the leads are in green, the people who are currently on that committee are there. And then the last is the sergeant of arms, which is, you know what that is at the end of the meeting, that person comes up and does a little blurb, then does happy bucks and does 50-50. So I think most of you who've been to the club, those are the committees that work. And so I put the people who are on that committee right now, there's pens there. If you do not want to be on that committee and your name is on there, you're welcome to cross it off. But also there's some sticky notes. And if you would like to be a part of that committee, just put your name on a sticky note and stick it on the board. So that way you can just do it after the club. I'll have it here before the club meetings every time. So as we go through August, we'll talk about certain committees and try to get a clue as to how everybody can help us make a great team, which is what we're doing this year. And speaking of programs, I'm going to let Judy Basker come up and introduce our guest. I'm very much looking forward to this.
Thanks, Valerie. Okay, so it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Jon Gell. who lives in Medford. I met him 10 or 12 years ago-ish I was in the big Medford Rotary Club. And we visited a few times. He's highly respected. I want to start with the most important thing. He's been married 47 years with 3 children and 5 grandchildren. Well done. And I found out today that he graduated from high school in the Chicago area. You saw his bio, so I'm not going to read every single bit of it, but he graduated from Brown in Providence, Rhode Island, also from medical school there. Did a medical residency in University Hospital in rheumatology in New England Medical Center. So I don't think I'm going to read all of this stuff that's right here, but he is a graduate of the Jackson Medford Chamber of Commerce Leadership Program, past board member of Temple Emek Shalom. He served on Medford Jackson County Chamber of Commerce Subcommittee on Health, the County Public Health Advisory Board, and was president of Southern Oregon Drug Awareness, chair of the Perinatal Task Force addressing issues of access to care in Jackson County for many years. Served as a delegate to the Oregon Medical Association from Jackson County Medical Society, and served with the Quality of Care Committee of the Governing Board of Providence Health System. And we had a little bit of visit before we started today, and I told him about my recent experience about a year ago being in the hospital at Providence and how it kind of changes your perspective on things. And not that I would wish that anyone, to find out if he knew anybody in our club. I know he knows Bruce, who's hadn't seen in many years, and so we're happy that you're here today. And Jon agreed to talk to us about some interesting issues, and he's just a really super nice guy. You can tell by his resume, he's a person of service. And so we're delighted that he schlepped over here from Medford to join us today. Come on up, Jon.
Thank you, Judy. So, President Valerie, fellow Rotarians, and yes, this talk covers my reflections during the pandemic timeout. Watching the conflicts over pandemic management along with other events, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So I saw a pattern that I wanted to present, and I'll be interested in your feedback. See if magic works here.
This way.
So our minds are wired to look for patterns, IQ and aptitude tests, measure the ability to discern patterns. And if you look at a cloud, I can see maybe a Scotty dog, a dragon, maybe a woman waking up from a nap. And this phenomenon is called pareidolia. And that's seeing things in amorphous objects. And some of them are pretty subtle. And others are more obvious. Pareidolia is part of a psychological phenomenon called apophenia. It's the visual part. And apophenia is a more general pattern recognition. And it's defined as a cognitive bias in which a pattern is falsely detected or labeled as meaningful when is actually absent or attributable to chance. And so I'm going to talk about a pattern. Your job to figure out is that, apophenia examples for me would be the canals on Mars or tarot readings for astrology, which I think are false patterns. Others may feel otherwise. But your job is saying, am I on to something or is this an apophenia? Am I on, this is a false pattern? And so what I'm talking about is in the field of sociology. And we're all familiar with economic power. I have to explain that. And you're all familiar with political power. We know that very well. Don't need to explain that. And my thesis is there's a third power hiding in plain sight. So if you're trying to figure out what's going on in current events and it doesn't make any sense,
It's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle and you're missing some pieces. And so money and political power, you're not my only hope. There is another. And that is biologic power, or shortened as biopower. So what is that? Well, the term was coined by Michel Foucault, who was a French philosopher who lived from the 20s to 1984. And he defined it as controlling, organizing, or otherwise governing large groups by placing limitations and controls on their bodies. And that's certainly relevant today. You think about the arguments over vaccines or perhaps abortion. He back then was talking about managing mental illness, sexuality in prison populations, but it's all relevant. But looking at that, I thought the definition was a little bit too narrow, so I'm going to redefine it. You're all familiar with healthcare. I come from Jackson County, so these are the three large entities in Jackson County. That's Asante, Providence Midland Medical Center, and La Clinica is a large federally funded healthcare clinic. And there's power in healthcare. People come from miles around to go to a facility or see a doctor. They wait for hours. I've interviewed lots of people for healthcare positions, and people talk about they want to help people and even save lives. And there's power and even awe in that. Alongside of healthcare is public health. And this is from an old Jackson County and Josephine County website. Healthy communities are everyone's business. And public health includes vaccinations, trying to manage healthy and unhealthy behaviors. This slide is tobacco and the impact of tobacco in 1 year on Jackson County. And also, it's important to track births and deaths and other vital statistics, rates of diseases, and particularly communicable diseases. And healthcare focuses on individual, public health focuses on community, and works more towards prevention. They're both extremely important. But more important than those two are actually the social determinants of health. And that's education, decent safety, sanitation, nutrition, economic opportunity, affordable healthcare access, housing, and community relationships and norms. By that I mean is how well do the different sub-communities get along, the rich and the poor, the different cultures, different races, and even within families, how well what's the bond within families, how well do the youth and the older folks get along. And all those together, actually 80, maybe 90% of the health measurements in the community. That when you have good social determinants of health, you'll have a healthy community, almost regardless of healthcare. And so all together, really, mind is what we need. So, if you took a magic crucible and you put in the social terms of health, public health, and health care, and putting Rotary, uniting for good, that is what biopower is. So think of the three main fields in health. There's not really a word prior to this for all those things together. Is it welfare? Not really. Federal. So the word we're not using or aware of is biopower. Is this a brand new term? Sort of and not. Most of you in the room are old enough to remember the Department of HEW, Health, Education, and Welfare, from the 50s to the 70s. And that was the seal, and that was its flag. Spes and Cora Vitae, hope is the anchor of life. And it was the Office of Education, Food and Drug Administration, Centers for Disease Control, National Institute of Health, Social Security Administration, Public Health, Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, all under one roof, one bureau. And it became by far the largest bureau in the cabinet and was broken up for that reason. But that was really all about biopower. Can you think of an organization that is centered on biopower? An organization that's interested in the welfare of the community and improving the social determinants of health. Can you kind of visualize what that might be? Yeah, well, it's y'all. It's Rotary. Is Rotary a political organization? Nah. Is it an economic organization? No. It's an organization all about social determinants of health and improving life in Josephine County. You do Porch Fest, drawing everybody together and making lives better in the valley. Shoes That Fit, backpack project that supplies for project kids. Hosting exchange student who help with other Rotaries and other groups for shelters with homeless, do student recognition. I heard today you're doing a green bag program working with food banks, and our long road, you do biopower. It's not the only organization for sure. United Way, Red Cross, Arvin Community Foundation, food banks for sure. But many not-for-profits really about biopower, which is not named that well. Now, my introduction to the term was at an ethics conference, a Kinsman ethics conference, pre-pandemic. And it was a lecture by Dr. Ryan Pettyway. He was a prof at OHSU and Portland State. He writes about issues with race and poverty and sexuality. And he gave a talk centering on racism. And he started with the example of an inner city school lunch, a styrofoam plate, piece of Wonder Bread, a hot dog, highly processed food of unknown derivation. And that's one school lunch. And just compare that in your mind to a wealthy suburb school lunch. And one school lunch doesn't make any difference, but over the lifetime of the kid, it probably does. And then add on that access to health care for inner city communities or rural even, food deserts, pollution, tainted water, I think Flint, Michigan, educational access with problem getting teachers and big classrooms, predatory policing, discrimination, and real estate and jobs. And it really makes a difference in a subset of the community. So that reminds me to point out that social determinants of health go both ways. They can be positive or they can be negative. Negative, war, famine, pandemic, pollution, drought, substance abuse, poverty, quackery. And positive is peace, food, clean air, water, affluence, education, social order, tolerance, and effective healthcare. It goes both ways. There's negative biopower and positive biopower. Another way of considering biopower is looking at its origin. Most religions have a view of an eternal being being the source of life, biopower, if you will, as well as moral authority. You can look anywhere in the Testaments and you're going to see quotes which are really biopower. This is from Deuteronomy chapter 7, and it will be because you will heed these ordinances and keep them and perform that the Lord your God will keep for you the covenant and the kindness that he swore to your forefathers. And he will love you and bless you and multiply you. He will bless the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your soil, your grain, your wine, and your oil, the offspring of your cattle and the choice of your flocks, and the land in which he swore your forefathers to give you. That's all the social determinants of health. Maybe not education, but it's all there. The Exodus is a revelation story of imagined biopower. It started with a burning bush. Pharaoh had political and economic power and was worshipped as a god, who was overcome by Moses with God's aid. Ultimately, the first covenant was revealed. Follow my commandments, and my biopower will provide for you, anger me, and my negative biopower will cause you to perish. Thanksgiving was established as a holiday of gratitude for divine biopower. Go around the table and you don't give thanks for money or station, but for family and community bonds, life's abundance and grace. Christianity extended biopower with the promise of eternal life, the ultimate in health, heaven. Now healthcare looks shabby. Now, salvation generally requires certain beliefs and activities which can be used to control manipulate populations. It has been written that the word of God can be constructed to protect the temporal rule of the rich and the powerful. I am not advocating for godlessness. As physicians, spirituality is important in the dark days. This is a gospel tune angel band. My latest sun is sinking fast. My race is nearly run. My longest trials now are past. My triumph has begun. Oh, come, angel band, come around me stand. Oh, bear me away on your snow white wings to a mortal home. Oh, bear me away on your snow white wings to your mortal home. Oh, bear my longing to him. That is a major comfort, great comfort on a deathbed. So I'm going to continue talking about biopower in various contexts. I talk about racism and religion. I'm going to talk about the Second Amendment and how that fits, the entertainment industry briefly, and end up talking about the interrelationships between economic power, political power, and biopower, where I think it gets the most interesting. The American story. Guns. Every gun sport derives from the imagined drama. A criminal is attempting a home invasion, but the heroic homeowner has had the foresight to have a loaded firearm by his side. His wife and child are safe. The threat neutralized due to the prudence of the homeowner to have his weapon handy and the wisdom of the Second Amendment. He may not have any wealth or any political power, but at least he has a biopower that protects his home and his family. People bitterly sense their loss of political and economic power. The Second Amendment is often referred to as a God-given right. Make my day. In the Vietnamese War, it moved on to more bullets, more bodies, and the guns had spread throughout our lives and community. This is just a consequential graph. In blue is the motor vehicle accidents among youth and kids, ages 1 to 24, for the mortality rate in the population. And that has progressively dropped over the last 20 years with seatbelts and DUI enforcement and limited licensing, all things that have been done to make cars safer. And that's progressively dropped. And compare that with the mortality rates in kids for guns, and you pay a price for that. Circling back on guns and race, didn't realize that the Second Amendment, this is a book by Carol Anderson, who wrote about the origin of the Second Amendment. And she pointed out the Second Amendment was crafted to ensure slave owners could quickly crush any rebellion or resistance from those that enslaved. The right to bear arms, presumably guaranteed to all citizens, was repeatedly denied to African Americans with brutal consequences. Most people old enough to remember the Black Panthers with the open carry guns, particularly in California. And California rapidly came up with the Mulford Act, which means that it blocked open carry, and Black Power and Black Panthers kind of disappeared after that. Let me move to a lighter subject, the entertainment industry. We all love an uplift story. So you're talking economic, it's the thrill of getting rich. All the rags to riches story.com or stock market billionaires or winning the lottery or finding treasure. Political, it's a sword in the stone, rail splitter to president. Mr. Smith goes to Washington, all great stories of uplift. Biopower, my pointer's not going to work, but you get bitten by a radioactive spider, you have powers. You can have exceptional martial arts skills or proficiency with firearms, or you can just be damn big. All of those are stories about uplift, and that includes biopower. So let me close by talking about the interrelationships and utility of the concept. So we're all familiar with the interactions between political power and economic power. Most of my emails and messages are requests for donations, probably yours. We're comfortable with maybe with $1,000 plate fundraisers. And we're sure used to lobbying by unions and big agriculture and big oil and tobacco and tech bros and so on. It's a little creepier when you consider inside trading by politicians or what Senator Bob Menendez was up to, and maybe Trump's crypto coin and these relationships. But it gets even more interesting when you throw in biopower. What is philanthropy? I can't use my pointer, but it's economic power moving down into biopower to improve the social determinants of health. And that really is what philanthropy is. What's the issue with universal health care or the cuts in Medicaid eligibility and food programs for the poor? That's economic power, political power taken away from power. It goes back and forth. What's the story of the American Revolution? Looking at all three powers. The American master story of armed patriots overthrowing the king's oppression. What was the solution for taxation without representation? If you have alignment of all three powers, you get an empire. Think of the Holy Roman Empire or the Ottoman Empire. Let's jump to a drug company boardroom. You're trying to decide how much you're going to charge for a new drug. Well, how well does it work? What's the population it works on and the side effects? But it really comes down to what can you get away with and what's your political effect. The wellness industry. A lot of these notions don't work, some of them probably will get generally not tested. But if you can advertise and get somebody to believe that what you buy, whatever it is going to improve your health, you can make a lot. Abortion, I need to elaborate on, but certainly you can imagine conflicts over that. Global warming, consider all three powers, what's going on. January 6th, the southern border. Considering all three powers, what is a citizen? What is a refugee? What is a patriot? How about a dictator? Or an immigrant with a gun? So your homework is to just pay attention to the news. Can you reconcile my conjecture with your experiences? Millions of smart people opine in these subjects every day. Why aren't other folks noticing a pattern with the exception of Foucault and Hathaway? Is this the fog of life? The dust of custom, to quote Wadsworth? The Dunning-Kruger effect? Why is there no word that combines healthcare, public health, and social determinants of health? Is this my apophenia, seeing things that aren't there in clouds? Or am I onto something? Is it another one of my bad ideas like chicken tartar? Biopower deserves to be recognized because influence needs to be visualized. It is the thumb of racial oppression, and its fingers are all over society. Biopower, economic power, and political power, economic power, and biopower together compose the triple-stranded DNA of most social constructs. We cannot fix what we do not know. Helen Keller has said, the only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. James Baldwin said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. When your spouse asks you what happened at Rotary, you answer, a talk on biopower. Good luck explaining that. Just remember, social determinants of health, healthcare, preventive health, all together. Judy, thanks again for the invitation. Thanks for the hosting, and I'll be happy to try to answer any questions. Thank you. Yes.
You mentioned briefly the issues of healthcare and universal healthcare.
Yes.
One of the concerns I would have is that the idea that was kind of behind the shooting of United Healthcare's CEO, in that the perception that insurance places profits over patient care and is very often making decisions that are against the health of their people. And that's especially true in my field, which is mental health. Because mental health, there is very little encouragement for people to go into mental health.
No, I totally agree. Mental health is extremely important and part of the social determinants of health. And even though there's supposedly some laws to require coverage for mental health issues, it really hasn't occurred. And it's really a huge problem between mental health and substance abuse. And every dollar spent is $7 saved. But it doesn't pay immediately for the insurance companies to cover that. Good question.
You mentioned the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
And I see that you're a scholar. I've got an issue that I'd like to mention.
Sure.
I've been a hunter all my life. I've owned guns since I was 18 years old. A few years back, more like 30 years back, I got a pistol. And I go backpacking every year. That year, with my pistol on my hip, I thought, well, if a wild animal comes in here, I can protect myself. If I see a snake, I can protect myself. If someone else comes in, I can protect myself. I stopped using the pistol, left it home. I've never had those thoughts again. I'm wondering, is there any science that shows what happened to me? I got paranoid. And I'm wondering how many people are Second Amendment. We've got to have our guns because they have that kind of gun and it makes them think that way. That's a question.
I don't know. Part of the trouble with guns was the Dickey Amendment years ago. And it became, the federal government could not do into research into gun safety, so it was banned. So a little bit like marijuana, which is a whole different issue. But this stuff hasn't really been tested in a rigorous way, and Biden rolled back some of the Dickey Amendment prohibitions, and they're now back again. So we'll not get the answer to your question anytime soon. I'm of the belief that guns, the gun makes your life less sense, but I don't have real good data to prove that. And the gun advocates feel it makes them more safe. And all I can say is that they believe, and I can't talk about it. But there's not enough data. Thank you. Any other questions? Good questions. Thank you. Okay.
I guess my question in listening to that, because it definitely, I can see that there is a pattern. I think that you've got something there. The question is, what do you do with this knowledge? If you could just absolutely prove it, get it out, get it widely known, where does it lead? What actions does this lead to?
It's a good question. Personally, I'm looking at it this way. So I'm sitting at home on the couch with my wife and watching TV. I'm hoping somebody will take this up and point out that we tend to think of economic issues and economic solutions, political funds. But you've got to put biopower first, at least balance that. And I'm hoping that one party or another, and I'll back in mind which party it's going to be, will say, hey, no, we've got to look after the health of the population. And here's how, with wisdom, we're going to do that. So I hope the party not in power figures out that they've got a center on biopower, the positive side. I carried a sign that RFK is going to kill more people than Tren de Agua or MS-13. I believe that.
First of all, I want to thank you for this presentation. And because it's very eye-opening. I'm wondering, though, because of I don't know if we call them tariffs that would have been placed on universities, and how that is affecting not only in the guise of immigrants, but I think it's also affecting departments that many of which were listed, and how that is going to skew people pursuing degrees and higher learning and in the fields that we've been looking at.
No, I think this is deliberate. There's now a tax on universal endowments. It was 1.5%, and it's up to 20% or something, and then they're shutting down research. So I think that is another attack on biopower and education as part of the social determinants of health. So I think it's awful, but I think that is part of the problem. Bruce?
Hi, John. Nice to see you. I'm Bruce. I've been in the community as a healthcare provider for more than 30 years. I think the most disturbing thing of the many disturbing things is the fight against truth when it comes to medical research, medical findings, the uncertainty of science, which is inherent. But since COVID, it's like science doesn't exist. And now we have the head of the CDC and health issues nationally railing against vaccines and producing data that was already been shown that was factitious, already been shown to be done by AI badly. How does the medical profession come back into some idea of respect and reputation? How do we regain the ground that we've lost?
I don't know. My thought is to point out in the military, there is something called stolen valor. And that's people who pretend to have fought in wars, have medals, and have been given basically a bended knee for the kind of things they have done. And there are people who pretend with medals and tell stories of battles and claim insurance for things they've never done. And I think what's going on in healthcare is stolen valor. People who have not actually done the work. They don't understand what research is, they don't understand science, but they've taken the valor. And I just think people, show examples of military stolen valor, and then hey, these guys are stealing valor. Rather than military, it's called biopower. In medicine, healthcare part would be my tack, but I don't know if I know an answer. Thank you.
Well, we were all hoping you'd have the answers for us. Because I think everybody sitting out in this audience is going, oh, yeah. Oh, one more question. Okay, yeah, perfect.
Simply, a simple question, what is the goal of this negative biopower? Is it a form of eugenics? What is it? It's selecting a certain part of the society? Or what is it?
I think it's basically putting economic power as the raison d'etre. Everything's about money. Somebody once said money is how people keep score. And there's no too much money. The more money you have, the more score. So it's basically been taking economic power from the lower class and the middle class to the rich and now the ultra rich. And that movement is unchecked. And I think it's all about centering economic power is what's going on. And, ultimately you have to recognize that no, this is we're a population, we're all connected. And you've got to support people where they are. Yeah, thank you.
So how do you turn around that for-profit perspective on insurance and healthcare? How do you
Well,
turn that around?
I don't see that happening anytime soon, but I spend time with PNHP, with Physicians for National Health Program. So I have support single payer. There's a bill, actually, there's a board in Oregon that's looking at a single payer system for the state of Oregon. People argue it should be national, but I would support Oregon single payer. And it's going to be it's an impossible road because you have to then combine Medicare, Medicaid, insurance companies into a single fund and pay at a single fund. And there's big barriers to that, but I think that's a way out as a single payer. And basically covering everybody in the community, regardless of the citizens, whatever, everybody deserves healthcare. It's political. I can, after the meeting, I can tell you, to contact, but you could contact your representative and support have the Senate bill written down someplace about that. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously there are no easy answers, but we can all see the balance and how the balance is skewed. It was interesting to see the biopower because we all know about the economic and the political, but to have that biopower factored in, I think is very powerful. It kind of gives you something to hang on to be able to talk about. Oh, yeah. Always needs to be wrong. Thank you. I knew I'll do that every time. Anyway, thank you for being here. But like I said, I wish we all had the answers, but very interesting and very important that we carry forward and understand that whole process. So, all right, with that, I am going to hand over to Dawn. She is our Sergeant of Arms.
No, you can stay if you want.
I believe you are. I am. Go trip. I'm very clumsy. Dr. Gell, thank you very, very much for something that was very serious and thought-provoking, and we'll all spend a lot more time thinking about what you've said and trying to figure out ways that we can make a change. But I'm here because it's time for humor. After all, laughter is the best medicine. So as Sergeant of Arms for the day, I'm declaring August 7th the Pat Bath Pun Day. Pat has recently emailed some very funny puns and they need to be shared. And I've picked those that may in some remote way be scientific to kind of connect with our program, but it's a bit of a stretch, so bear with me. Okay, here are your puns for the day. Thank you, Pat Bath. My laptop caught pneumonia, apparently, because I left windows open. I've been experimenting with breeding racing deer, and people have accused me of trying to make a fast buck. It's pretty obvious that if I run in front of a car, I'm going to get tired, but if I run behind a car, I will get exhausted. The main function of your big toe is to make sure all the furniture in the house is in the right place. A friend said she didn't understand cloning. I told her that makes two of us. I'm reading a book about anti-gravity. It's impossible to put it down. I didn't think orthopedic shoes would help, but I stand corrected. The invention of the shovel was a groundbreaking experience, but the invention of the broom was the one that swept the nation. What's the difference between ignorance and indifference? I don't know, and I don't care. My friend keeps saying, cheer up, it could be worse. You could be stuck underground in a hole full of water. I know he means well. Finally, I entered 10 puns into a competition to see if one would win. No pun intended. All right, so now we're ready for Happy Bucks. All right. And let's bonus points to anybody who shares a funny or punny buck. So Happy Buck time. Raise your hand. All right, and Jen, who is a comedian in and of herself.
I have my moments. But I'm serious right now because I've got an interview on Monday. And I'm really excited for the OSU extension position, and I appreciate all your support, and that's why I was excited to share it with you, because I know you're gonna think happy thoughts for me at 1:45 on Monday.
Okay, so I'm a stand-in for Patrice today. She wanted me to share this with you. We heard that we had gotten over $500 for the food bank. Well. Pounds, excuse me, 500 pounds. Thank you very much. Well, the good news is that since we started the Food for Kids, we've gotten an additional 535 pounds for a total of 1,125 pounds for the food bank. So thank you. Patrice wishes she could be here. And I've got 10 happy bucks.
Well, so I have a happy buck. Our son Tom, who now has Brown Hills Electric, was asked to provide information for a spotlight on your business in the chamber newsletter, and it just came out this week. And he did a really good job, of course, because he's my son. But there are 4 advertisements from like the 20s and 30s, and it's always amazing to see the prices back then versus now.
I have sad bucks. Many of you know that Margaret has taken leave for 6 months to take care of being the executor of a trust that has family dynamics that are very difficult to deal with. But she thought she might have some extra time, so she went to a beekeeper to see if she could start to get a colony of bees going. So she thought she'd start with a dozen bees. When she got home, she found she had 13. So she called the beekeeper and said, I only paid for 12 bees. Why did I get 13? Said, the 13th one is a freebie.
You get the bonus point.
Since I've never done this, since I've been a member, I'm putting it all down. I'm putting in 33 happy bucks. Tomorrow, we will be married 33 years.
Anyone else? All right, it's time to draw the card. Oh, no, I'm gonna be happy bucks first. So I'm tied in. I don't have any. I'm sorry, I can't move that fast on my feet. But I just want to tie in and say, good job on Monday. I'm so happy for Jen. I'm hoping it keeps my fingers crossed. I'm also driving in a car. I'll be thinking of you. I'm driving over to Sun River. And next week, Jen is going to do the meeting for us. So she should be dancing on her feet after the interview. Anyway, so she will be here next week to do the meeting. And so I thank you for that. That is awesome. So I'm going to take a week, and I'm extremely happy because I have 4 children, 2 in Texas and 1 in Portland with grandchildren, and we're all going together to be together in Sun River. I also have 2 step grandsons that are coming up from LA. So we have 2 houses, and I'm really looking forward to this chance to have my entire family together because it doesn't happen very often. So yes. Okay. With that, now we'll pull a card. Right, Dr. Gill, you're the one, and let me tell you what my cards are.
All right, the 4 of spades. 4 of spades. Oh my gosh, it's not up there yet. Got it. There's somebody got spades. Who does?
Very good. I had to laugh because I thought you were like me and I could never remember whether it says spade or a club. Yay, what a great figure. Okay, and with that, it is 1 o'clock. I want you to notice we're staying on time. Not bad, not bad. We do have a thought for the day. Excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines our destiny. Aristotle. Have a great day. Have a great 2 weeks. Jen will be here next week. And yeah, have fun.
Gosh.